Ka tika e rere ana ngā mihi ki a tātou katoa I wakatau mai nei I te ahi nei. Mai te wakatauki I ki ana ko au te awa ko au. Ko Kylie Osborne tōku ingoa, and I am Kaitaki Māori Workforce Development here at the Whanganui DHB.
Kia ora koutou, ko Simon Wong tōku ingoa, no Whangarei ahau. But now I'm PGY1 and living in Whanganui, and I also spent TI year here, so I've got a bit of experience as to what it's like to be in the hospital here.
Here I'm Hani Pule, and I'm the Medical Recruitment Advisor for RMOs here in Whanganui DHB.
Ata Māori, my name's Louise Tor. I'm the Business Manager for the Medical Management Unit, and it's lovely to be able to present our DHB to you today. We're going to start off with our video, which is available online, both on our website and on the ACE website. But if you haven't already seen it, it gives you a chance to have a look inside our hospital and hear from some of our RMOs what they have thought about working here.
I rere kau mai te awa nui ma te ka oi maunga ki tangaroa ko au te awa ko au. The great river flows from the mountains to the sea. I am the river and the river is me. Kia ora, my name's Katie and I'm a PGY2 at the Whanganui District Health Board. Whanganui is a hidden gem. You can go up to the mountain, skiing, snowboarding. You can come down the river on the waka, or you can enjoy the local beach. Whanganui is a city of culture. With its local iwi of Te Atiho Nui a Paparangi, its art community, its new vibing cafes, they all provide endless opportunities for hobbies and interests in your spare time. The Whanganui Hospital is small enough to feel as though you're making a difference, but big enough to have plenty of opportunities to learn and grow. We do not start nights until 6 months of working. We have scheduled 10 safe rosters in place, and we can be placed in ED in our first year. Calling for help is accepted. Asking questions is accepted. Being keen to learn and participate is encouraged. We have a friendly and approachable, kind RMO unit that works alongside us and for us. We are guided by our values and principles of the Māori analogy of paddling a waka and the importance of working together towards the same goal for our patients' hauora. The core values of kotahitanga, unity, aroha, love, respect and empathy, and many more are what make this hospital different and what make it an enjoyable place to work. In our first few days of employment, we undergo cultural teaching called Te Hāpai Te Hoi. We learn about the local heritage of Whanganui, and we get to physically waka on the beautiful Whanganui River to learn and embrace the values and principles of working as a team, but most importantly, becoming a whānau.
It's really nice working amongst really friendly nurses, and the senior medical officers are really nice as well. You definitely have a lot of opportunities to do things. On your medical long day, you might be asked to do a chest drain or even a lumbar puncture, and there are always consultants on call, so you don't feel exactly out of your depth when you're doing nights as well in this hospital. Definitely you get a lot of experience, especially in ED. It's one of our favorite runs here. The cost of living is much cheaper here, rent is cheap, and you can easily travel really short distances to the hospital. There's a lot of incentive to come to Whanganui.
My name's Shona, I'm a PGY2 at Whanganui Hospital. There are lots of really good things going on for Whanganui Hospital, especially the fact that you get to work really closely with your consultants. We don't have any registrars, so you are one-on-one contact with consultants. You get to do lots of procedural stuff as well, so if you're into trying chest drains, acidic taps, doing LPs, doing some bedside surgery, it's really good for that. We've got a good mix of Kiwi trained and also foreign doctors, so you'll have some more experienced sort of British, Irish doctors, as well as some of us other more senior Kiwi trained doctors. It's easy to get to work and there's free parking. You have excellent work-life balance because you're generally finishing on time most days.
Whanganui Hospital is a friendly environment to work in. It provides endless opportunities for junior RMOs. Your skills and knowledge grow here. So why don't you come and see for yourself? Nau mai, haere mai.
So we are happy to take some questions, but just to give you a rundown around what Whanganui has to offer. Some of the key things are around our rosters, so you won't be doing nights in your first 6 months. You would start in either the medical ward, geriatrics, general surgery or orthopedics, and spend time in those disciplines in your first year, progressing to nights either in your third or fourth quarter. In your second year, there are CBAs in primary care and in urgent care. You do have the opportunity to spend time in ED in your second year, and other runs are available in ONG, pediatrics, psychiatry, and anesthetics. Everyone gets a chance to do a relief run in your first or second year, and that's about growing your skills and participating, relieving other people who have an opportunity to take leave as well as you. Generally, leave is approved. We are very keen on assisting you in your training to gain the skill, the experience, and the clinical skills that you need for your future. So, Simon, do you want to tell us a bit about your average day?
Right. Okay. Well, I suppose I could speak on quite a lot of different departments, being here as TI and then being able to see quite a lot of those at work. But probably the department that I'd have the most experience would have been medical here in Whanganui. And as was probably briefly mentioned there in the video, which perhaps you might not have caught at first glance, was that there aren't any registrars in Whanganui. So that's probably not entirely true. That's just for the medical department that there aren't any registrars there at the moment. And so that means that there's a whole lot of one-on-one time with the consultants that you actually get as a member of the medical team here. There's 6 physicians there, and so you got sort of split between the 6 teams there then, and it's actually really quite good from a learning perspective to be having that one-on-one time with the consultant all the way through. They're all very easily reached, supportive, and really good about sort of making sure that you're comfortable, but you're working within a sort of skill set that's going to challenge you in some ways, but definitely sort of hasten that learning and make you a very position that you're in. So the days will normally start off with, you know, your ward rounds and your handover, and then carrying through the sort of jobs and that, and those jobs can be anything between sort of, you know, chasing around, looking after bloods and things, getting images sorted for patients, or procedural stuff like just in the first couple of weeks, actually, I think with close supervision from the consultant, I ended up doing a pleural tap for one of our patients, and that all went swimmingly. And so now I can say that I've easily got that one under my belt. Probably wouldn't have, I imagine, in many other places. So it's quite good, actually. Yeah, and it's a super supportive environment here in Whanganui. The place is small enough that you'll know everyone by the end of the first few months. And if you don't, you'll meet them in the cafe. And everyone's super friendly and inviting. In my time here as a student, everyone was super willing to lend a hand and able to sort of teach me at every opportunity. And even as a PGY1, that hasn't changed. If ever I have any questions, no one is, what's the word, averse or afraid to lend a hand. And so that's always really good to feel like you've got that supportive circle around you, which is really nice.
Kylie, we saw a lot in the beginning there about our orientation process and our values, and that at Whanganui we're part of a big family. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Sure, can. So, and Katie did speak about that a little bit in the video in terms of our values. And so we are a values-based DHB, and I'm sure that most of you or some of you will be aware that we have had a pro-equity report done in 2018. So that's a huge focus for us here at our DHB as well. So part of all of the values and part of that pro-equity report and work that had been done leading up to that is that we have Hapai Te Hoi, which is our 2-day cultural orientation process. And this happens for all staff who come to work at Whanganui DHB. So within that 2 days, you get some treaty training, and that treaty korero is really based on the treaty and how it affected and impacted Aotearoa here in Whanganui. Then you will have korero around the values here at our DHB. So we do have 12 values that we work to, and we have 4 that are that we've uplifted. So you get quite a bit of time talking about that. Also important is that our DHB is whānau-centred care practice. So really important that whānau is at the centre of all the mahi that we do. And of course, as Katie also pointed out, you get the opportunity to spend some time on the awa. And that program is led by Ned Tapa and Mau Rerekura, who are our cultural advisors here at the DHB, and Uri as well of Te Awa Tupua. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing process to go through, and as far as I'm aware, we are the only DHB that offer that type of process in terms of orientation. So it's pretty special, and I think it gives you a really good starting point when you come here, not just in terms of how we work here at our DHB, but in terms of our community as well.
Honey, do you want to talk to us about the rest of the orientation that flows on from that?
Yeah, so as Kylie just mentioned, we tried to start with our house officers, registrars or senior house officers with a 1 week of orientation, the first 2 days being cultural training, followed by 2 days of organizational training, and on a Friday with a shadowing in their respective departments, which could be a long day or a normal day. And this is buddying with another senior house officer or another, PGY1 or PGY2 RMO in their respective departments. In saying that, our descriptive orientation pack also says about when we are going to book them for ACLS or NLS, which is neonatal life support, or any other training courses. And especially when it comes to a PGY1 RMO, we try to book them along with the first week of their orientation, a course called Alert course, which helps them a lot as a beginner to start with. So these are some of the highlights. Apart from that, we also plan far in advance with our PGY1 RMOs to understand when they are completing their year 1, what are the requirements to get a general registration, and planning that in advance. We are able to book them for ACLS a year far in advance so that they are all good to go to apply for their general registration. So all this information is included in the orientation pack, which gives them an idea how their first 1 year would look like, also in terms of training and development.
So, Honey, you're the contact person for all the applicants through the ACE process?
Yes.
Yes, so
I believe so.
If you are applying to Whanganui, we do like to get cover letters from you as to why you believe you connect with the values that we have here in Whanganui, why you want to be part of our wider whānau.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to meet you, and Simon, the interview is not a scary process.
No.
And just to add to what Louise mentioned, when it comes to covering letter, I personally believe it is a great idea to put a picture of yourself in your covering letter, so that there is a face to a name and you're putting your personal self out there in your covering letter. So that would be a great idea to do.
What are some of the other components of the ACE application that can help strengthen an application to Whanganui?
What we are looking for is people who connect with us as a DHB and want to come here because of what we can offer you. So Simon's touched on some of the things around additional hands-on skills, being part of a family, being values-based. If you connect with a desire to help people to be part of something bigger than yourself, something where you are giving back to a small community. Those are all things that we would love to hear from you.
I actually might have might not have picked it up during your presentation, but will there be interviews on site, or are the TIs invited to contact you at the RMO unit to discuss their application?
We don't have on-site interviews, and we don't expect people to come here to meet with us. We live in a wonderful age where we can connect via electronic means such as this, and we would love to meet with people who want to connect with us before the closing process. And once we get allocated the people who choose us through the ACE process, we will contact you and do a meet and greet and a get to know you type process.
Right. We've got a question that's popped up from Mr. and Miss Anonymous. Tend to get those quite often. Would training fees be covered or reimbursed? For instance, exams, courses, attending conferences, etc.
So we are quite generous around what training is covered. We are mindful that there are lots of courses out there, and sometimes they are better done at certain points in your training. So it would be unlikely that if you wanted to do a point of care ultrasound course in your first month, that you would be encouraged to wait a little bit longer. Having said that, we are quite proactive, as Honey has pointed out, around getting you through the courses you need as you need to do them as part of your training. And I'm not aware that there are a large number of courses declined. Certainly, once a course is approved, then the training fees around that are covered with the contractual arrangements in the various MECAs.
So is the meet and greet like an informal interview prior to sending out job offers? How would that work in reality there, Honey?
Well, it's very, I wouldn't say it is very informal as well, but it is a process where, we try to take you through the Vulnerable Children's Act questions and, also try to understand if you're moving from another place to Whanganui, how the smooth transition can be made, and obviously understanding what their run preferences are and how we can accommodate it to our best of, capabilities, making note of their interest in which runs going forward. So it's more of an open conversation happening to understand, and definitely covering some of the mandatory questions as per VCO, Vulnerable Children's Act. Yeah. But in saying that, I've also received quite a few queries from really interested candidates who would like to come down to Whanganui, and we are very welcoming in that process. And I book my schedules, for half a day appointment with them to take them around the campus, show them our on-site accommodation, our different departments, if can get connected with some of our senior house officers or our house officers on site. So these are something, we do proactively when the candidate do get in touch with us and show a keen interest. Yeah.
So Honey has just touched on that we do have some on-site accommodation. So if you are relocating from somewhere else in New Zealand, we can certainly help you to find your feet in Whanganui. They are short-term accommodation whilst you find somewhere to flat or live with. Often the RMOs here find a house and set up a flat.
It's so cheap compared to elsewhere in the country.
And yes, you find yourself connected inside and outside of work with a community that's very supportive.
We also get now and then quite good landlords getting in touch with us with good properties, and we connect them through, from the RMO unit to the RMO. So we really believe in exceptional candidate care and, smooth transition, be it from an overseas RMO or within New Zealand itself. We make sure that they're happily coming into Whanganui DHB to do their jobs with, wholeheartedness and happiness.
So we have, sorry, do you want to go, Quentin?
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Louise.
So just looking at the question that has come up, we have got 7 or 8 PGY1 positions that's still to be confirmed. We have got, I think, about 21 PGY1s and PGY2s at this point in time. We do accept late starts, so we have got some late starts in the mix. So there's usually someone new starting, and we accommodate new people whenever they start. So if you are starting that late, it doesn't mean you get any less of an orientation program to anybody else.
Great.
Long days. So our roster is divided into 4 different sub rosters because we are small, so there's not a whole lot of different rosters like in the big places. If you are working weekends, then you would be working 1 weekend in 3, and when you're not working on the associated weekend, you would have 2 long days during that week. If you are working in medicine, you're buddied with someone on the weekend. In general surgery, you have registrars to support you. So you would be, there would be 1 person in general surgery and 1 person in O&G and pediatrics. We have a 24/7 rotating ED roster. So when you're in ED, your roster pattern is quite different to anywhere else. Once you have done your first 6 months, you could be on the night roster. And there are 7 RMOs that participate in that night roster. Psychiatry is a little bit different with an on-call type roster over there, and then relief covers all of the other rosters. When working nights, there are 2 ED RMOs working and 1 RMO covering all the wards. You get a separate orientation before you start nights to let you know what support is available to you and some of the diagnostic modalities that are available outside of hours.
Did you want to add anything about Ross?
No, sounds all about, yeah. Sounds quite well covered there.
So there are 2 MECAs, the RDA and the Stones MECA. It is completely up to you which MECA you choose to join, and if you don't, you will be assigned an IEA based on the majority of the people in the run that you're starting. So if you're a PGY1, it would be the RDA MECA. Registrars are mainly covered by the Stones MECA. The run categories are, because we are a rural hospital, we fall under the rural hospital bands, and we are mostly on the category C runs. And then if you're doing relief, it's a category A.
Great.
So if you're on the nights roster, you do nights whilst you're on that roster. So at the point that a roster is devised for the quarter, if you're on the nights roster, you would do nights for that quarter. You may be in peds or general medicine, and in the next quarter, you may be on a night roster, or you might be on the weekend roster. If you are in anesthetics or doing a CBA run, you would be part of the weekend roster and you would participate in the weekends within the hospital, but you wouldn't be doing nights when you're doing one of those runs.
But you're not working nights every single time you're at the hospital, though?
No.
Yes.
So there's 7 of you who rotate through nights, which I think it means you might be doing two set of weeknights, which is 4 nights in a row, and 2 set of weekend nights during that 3-month period. It depends how that rotates. Yeah, if anyone is interested in having a look to see what the roster looks like, you are more than welcome to make contact with Honey, and we are more than willing to share that with anyone who is interested.
And it looks like we've just got Gary coming from surgery as well. Welcome back. Thank you very much for popping in. We're a little bit ahead of time, actually, Gary. I just wanted just to sort of put you on the spot. If you wanted to just have a quick korero about what it's like working at Whanganui District House Board.
It's pretty full on, I would say. Definitely get a lot of clinical opportunities and I guess opportunities to step out of your comfort zone to do to manage, to learn clinically as well. So in comparison to the other hospitals, bigger centers. So I think if people are wanting more clinical exposure and experience in their PGY 1 and 2 years, it's definitely the place to be for that.
And what have you been doing in theatre, Gary?
Oh, so I'm currently on my anaesthetics run, which is again really quite unique to Whanganui DHB, where you get an opportunity to be part of the anaesthetics team, which again, exposes you to the clinical skills and management of patients firsthand, rather than by secondary or tertiary exposure, through regs and through observing and stuff. You're actually there doing the procedures, managing the patients yourself with the consultant. Yeah.
Great.
We've also had some success getting people through who've done our anaesthetic run, then going on and getting onto the anaesthetic training program.
So if you do your ED run in the end of PGY 1 or 2, because there's no regs, you often, ophthalmology patients are seen just like everyone else. So you'll get to see ophthalmological trauma and kind of conditions where you have to provide initial management, and then calling the ophthalmologists on call and managing it with them. So, like for example, the most notable recent one I managed when they came into ED was a nail gun trauma to the eye. So that's the kind of exposure you'll get firsthand. So unlike the bigger centers, it doesn't get triaged straight to the ophthalmology department or / ophthalmology registrar. So it gets seen in ED, and again, it's who gets there first, basically. So you can easily be the first person seeing ophthalmology trauma. Corneal abrasions quite common, where you have to manage yourself both in ED and also on the wards. For example, accidental post-surgical kind of corneal abrasions is often managed by you.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably an important thing to note, is that despite not being a large centre with a whole different sort of multiple group of subspecialties alongside every single discipline, pick up as someone working in a smaller centre here is this entirely broad range of clinical skills, and you'll get these huge varied presentations that you probably won't see elsewhere, especially not by yourself in a lot of circumstances, and be able to pick up those skills and that clinical to manage those, they probably wouldn't elsewhere, I suppose. Not at that sort of varied a pool.
I'd like to thank all of you again for attending today and making that time available, and a lot of the experiences that you've talked about, Simon and Gary, is valuable for the applicants, and Kylie, Honey and Louise. It's certainly really helpful for the students to know, understand from a DHB perspective about the values of Whanganui District Health Board, and certainly how to support a strong application for ACE this year. So it looks like we're pretty clear of the questions in the chat group. So I'd just like to again thank you very much for coming along this afternoon. It's been a really good presentation, and I just encourage all of the TIs who are watching live now or further down the line on our recorded stream on Facebook. For further questions with regards to working with Whanganui, get in touch with Honey. She'll help navigate you through that process, and also make you feel comfortable and valued in doing so. So thank you very much, group.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Quentin.
Quentin.
Thank you.